Go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike, Hawk Crypto. Dude, thanks for having me today, man. This is awesome, dude.
For sure. I'm absolutely floored by the amount of support we're getting today. I think this is the most viewers I've ever had in my entire life. So pretty awesome. I hope that everybody that's viewing here goes and checks out all the guests and their links down in the description below and support the cryptocurrency mining community. Let's talk Ethereum merge. First question first, though. You got some GPUs running. What are you running them on right now? Are you sticking with Ethereum to the dying end, or have you already moved off?
I've already moved on. I'm done with Ethereum. I've closed the door. A lot of my clients too, because as you know, I run a hosting facility. They've all sent me text messages and emails. Hey man, can you move my rigs over? Here's my wallet. Some people do it on their own, but I do it for some people too. And yeah, I think the majority, if I have 600 GPUs back there, they're all off Ethereum.
What are they on?
Ergo. I got clients, that myself included, Ergo, Flux, a couple people doing Neoxa. I got some Raven coin. I even, I got somebody doing Vert coin. And I even put a rig on it. I'm like, you know what, let me try it because it's actually really efficient. And I know it's not really profitable, but you never know what's going to, go up or down. So.
Yeah, and right now with the GPU mining, this is the place we're in, right? I talked about it with Carter at the beginning of the show. 2014, shutting down some rigs, kind of mining on what you could. I have about half my rigs shut down right now. The other half are running on Caspa, actually, and that's because I feel like I can kind of get away with Caspa because with GhostDAG, I can mine old blocks and still get paid out for them. That's kind of the trick to Caspa. It's not quite reading on what to mine right now yet properly, so can kind of get away with it. It's kind of my reasoning behind it, but I have a feeling I'm about to get smashed and turn everything off and rebuild it tomorrow. We'll have to find out. So let's talk Ethereum merge. I think right now, Bortle WTF is showing that we have essentially an hour left. It's showing a lot shorter. However, the other counters that I'm seeing are showing an hour and a half left. Which is going to put us at 1:37 Central Time, which is 2:37 Eastern. And that is coming up down the line. It looks like we're getting a lot closer here.
Has the hash rate dropped off a lot? I was live on another channel prior to coming here, and I haven't really been paying that much attention because we were all talking. But looks like it is dropping 754, right?
And that's not much of a drop. When I started tonight, we were at about 780. So we've only dropped about the 25 terahash or so. Not much, right? So I don't think in general that it's going to slow. I think the hash rate we're seeing now is in fact, it went up 10 terahash since I last checked. So 30 minutes ago, it was at 740 terahash. So we've gone up 10 terahash within the last 30 minutes. I think this is where we're going to sit around through the end. I don't think we're going to move much more. I think that the people that are on it right now are going to stick it out to the very end. The question is, how much of it do you think is ASICs and how much of it do you think is GPU?
I had this talk the other day, and there's in my company, there's a guy named Yeti who's been working for me for a while. He's a developer, and he's helping me build everything up for my systems, and he's very knowledgeable with this. And we were talking. He mentioned he thinks it's about 60%, at least half, though. He said worst case, he thinks it's at least half of the hash rate on Ethereum is ASICs. And now with all the companies pumping out the firmware, it's going to be interesting to see if all of that moves over. I mean, there's a lot of GPUs out there. I mean, he thinks it's about 60%, probably best case scenario. The rest, but so I hear people call out crazy numbers. I've heard a few people say 90% ASICs, and I don't think that's true at all. But that's just my opinion there.
I think I would say pushback on the 90% ASICs would essentially be it's clear that Hut 8 admitted to purchasing specific GPUs from NVIDIA for mining Ethereum.
I remember that.
And they were very efficient. And it's probably something along the lines of a cut down core with HBM2 on board. And that's kind of what we're looking at, right? Something along those lines. But to be fair, you could almost classify those as ASICs because what are they not going to run good on? Pretty much any non-memory hardened algorithm. So those those GPUs aren't going to run as good on Flux, Ravencoin, Caspa, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. I have a lot of I just had a customer too today. He bought 96 GPUs and we just got done. I had one of my guys here inventorying it, and he bought 11 GPU Ryzer R8 server cases, and he's looking at me going, "So what do you think is going to happen?" And I'm like, I don't know, man. I said, these are what everybody's jumping on right now. But it was interesting when I found out that story about HUD-8. I think I found out on your channel. I watch your morning channel, like the morning, the show every morning. I'm sorry, dude, it's late.
No worries.
And I've been watching you ever since I actually started, man. And it's awesome to be on. It's awesome to be on your channel. But yeah, people are just curious. I'm getting texts and emails, and it's interesting. But NVIDIA selling those GPUs to HUD-8, man. I mean, from the perspective of just being when I started as an at-home miner, you kind of look at it like, dang, like, do you need a lot of money to be treated fairly? Like, that's just kind of the attitude it gave me. I don't know, man. I see that with ASICs too,
I think though, the funny part about that is they put themselves in interestingly poor positions, and you have a position as a smaller GPU miner to put yourself in a better position, meaning like, when I built my farm, I wasn't building it at the top when all of these farms were overpaying NVIDIA to order directly from them. I was buying literally MSI RX 5700s that had bad thermal pads that nobody wanted for $200 lower than retail from ProDirect, because basically, a tech tuber made a bad video about it and MSI couldn't sell the GPUs anymore. Right. So I was buying those, which are doing, 56 mega hash a second a pop after I replace the thermal pads and take care of them. Right. And those lasted me through the entire bull run, and I'm not buying GPUs at the top. Right. So this is kind of where this is the time that we get to capitalize on all the overpaying of the large firms. And I think that we're seeing these large firms start to collapse from it too, right? Even on the Bitcoin side.
See that. Yeah, you're right. And I've heard, stories. I've heard a few things about Wadham. I've heard a few things about other companies. And it's like, where do they go? And, I owned two S19s, 110 terahash. And, I'm sure Bitmain's a good company, but when I went to go,
okay.
Well, I'm being nice. I got to be nice. I was told to be nice over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm sure they're great people.
Anyway, but when I bought two S19s, and when I went to RMA, one of the hash boards just went out. Right? It didn't work out of the box. Didn't work. So I call them. And because I only own two of them, or I'm only getting two fixed or one fixed, it took 3 months to get a hash board. Then wait, it's better. They sent me another one, and it still didn't work. You know what I mean? So finally, I'm like, all right, that's it. Like, now I just got to find someone who can fix this. And believe it or not, I sent it to Carter, Bitsby Trippin. He should have it there now. Actually, I sent it last week.
Well, and hopefully he can get it fixed for you. But yeah, I mean, that's a big problem. It's a
huge problem, man.
That's the barrier to entry problem that we were talking about. That the GPUs provided us lower, middle class, lower class, whatever you want to say. It gave us this out, like, at least the way I viewed it, because I wasn't even really aware of the concept. I grew up with a poor mindset, if that makes sense. If you've ever read like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And that poor mindset, like, obviously for me was just like, I always rented stuff, all that sort of stuff, right? But the biggest thing was like, I never understood like revenue generation, right? Like generating revenue over just buying and hodling, for example, in cryptocurrency. And cryptocurrency was the first thing, especially like GPU mining was the first thing where I could actually put that into practice. At a level that I could afford, because clearly I can't go buy an apartment building, right? Like, I can't do that. I don't have that capability. I don't have that kind of capital. Right. So I really liked that. But then these barriers to entry start with the ASICs first, right? And I'm like, okay, so now I got to get $10,000 for an ASICs, and then it's like, Well, then you're going to get $10,000 for an ASIC, and it's going to make you $3 a day. And then the power company's going to jack your rate up. And like, now where do you end up? It gets a little frustrating.
Right.
And obviously this is a little bit of a tangent off of the merge.
Dude, I'm all about tangents. Anybody who follows me knows I go on rants. But you know, I actually sold my two S19s, the one that I sent to Bitsby Trip, and I sold it. Because you need like 50 to 60 of them to even be profitable. And at my electric rate, which is not too, I'm actually in the same area as Serpent. I'm not too far away from him. And our electric rate for commercial here is not appealing for ASICs, put it that way.
Right.
So, you know, now with the new data center we're opening for hosting, that's a different story because we negotiated our rate there. But, you know, I just don't think ASICs, for me, I mean, I want to, you know, even with my hosting company, I want to appeal to the GPU miners and people that are paying a lot of money in electricity. I have one L7 that I'm keeping because I actually like the L7. I think it's still profitable. It's a great machine, and I am, you know, not financial advice to anyone, but I am bullish. I am definitely bullish on Litecoin. I think Litecoin's a sleeping giant. That's my opinion.
I actually would go with Dogecoin, but I have like kind of a weird view on that that I think a lot of people miss about Dogecoin, which is essentially that at this point now, with the removal of the devs, the primary devs, you have a no supply cap Bitcoin is what you have, which sets you up actually pretty nicely for a transactional cryptocurrency that does serve the people. And the best part about the script miners is you can merge mine, and it has the most amount of coins out of any other algorithm that's ASIC. So I think the L7 is a great choice.
I do too. And I actually had a friend of mine call me actually 2 days ago. He's like, "Hey man, I want to get into ASICs. What do you think?" Thinking about buying an S19, and I'm like, "No, not at these prices."
Well, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but I've had a few come. I've had the S19, the S19 XB Pro.
I remember.
I've had some. They require a lot of cooling compared to what the previous models of the S series needed, and they seem to be the least reliable. I've had the most hashboard issues with them, that sort of thing. Actually, any of the new generation Bitcoin ASICs, except for the What's miners.
Yeah, I heard What's miners are actually
tanks. I don't know. I've had good experiences with them.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people say good things about them. That's what I was gonna say. Like, everybody's got good things to say about the What's miner. I mean, you know, here's the thing. Like, the only Bitcoin mining I'm doing is I have a. You're gonna laugh at this. I have a block eruptors, and I got them just a little lottery device that sits on my desk in my house, and that's it. Like, I'm solo mining BTC on it. Maybe it'll hit in 2 years.
Are you doing your own node, or are you doing CK pool?
CK pool.
Okay.
Yep, CK pool. Definitely
you can build your own node, and if you want the information, I can send it to you. In fact, there's a really cool guide where you can do it over satellite through basically a VPN that's completely untraceable over Tor, and it's awesome. Yeah, you can set up your own satellite to run the node and actually like solo mine Bitcoin. It's really neat. And I think like it goes to show that, and it's something that like the Bitcoin community did and like put out guides for, where it's like, this is neat. This is what is the fundamental of crypto, right? This is, okay, at this point, oh, you're gonna shut down my internet connection because I'm participating in crypto. I'll use a satellite, right? Or like we saw with using transacting with ham radio, right? Awesome stuff. But you know, we're talking about the merge here. What do we draw from this, right? We draw, okay, if I have a Bitcoin node, I can build that myself. I can throw a little USB miner on it. I can connect it to a satellite and go through Tor and completely negate any sort of censorship based on ISP, cloud service hosting, or anything else. And boom, we're done. Can I do that on proof of stake?
No. Gonna say no. My thing. I mean, listen, I heard there were people doing things with Starlink. You know what I mean? But the upload speeds, I think Starlink was having issues. I don't know if you heard about that with their upload.
I had Starlink pre-ordered, but they ended up with an ISP, so I'm not using them.
Yeah, they were having issues with their upload, and I think that's where a lot of people were running into issues. But they're making an upgrade. So, listen, what do we do? You must get this. If you had $1 for every time you got this question, like, what are your plans post merge? But I've seen a lot of people talk about it. I want to know because I haven't talked to you. What are your plans? What are you going to do? Like
my plans, like I actually ended up in a very bad position. I'm a very terrible position right now because I ended up in a position where my electric company completely screwed me over. They increased my rate by 300%, but it's not a part of my rate that's under my contract. So they tacked it on as an additional fee. That fee is actually a part of the fee that the grid paid the large Bitcoin miners to turn off. So in June and July, they were paying the large Bitcoin miners $9 million a month to turn off. Well, they took that and they passed that fee on to the consumer. And of course, I am commercial rates, and I was locked in at 5.5 cents a kilowatt hour, but they added on and tacked on this additional fee. And so my bill, for example, last month was $654 for my original rate, but my total bill is $2,100.
Oh my God.
So it's actually in the middle of a class action lawsuit right now, but I'm in a very odd position. But it comes at a kind of convenient time because shut off, clean up, go home. Right. That's kind of what I'm at right now. So,
and I listen, like, and this is the issue that I'm having with a lot of people that hit up the hosting company, right? There's a new company that I have, Terra Hosting. It's in conjunction with GPU Risers. We're working together. We have a brand new data center. But, when we went to the table and we were talking to the power company, which we have another meeting tomorrow to solidify everything, we want a contracted rate. And the good thing about it is GPU Risers, the owner, Mike, he is an attorney as well. So it's always good to have somebody there so they can look through everything. Because sometimes there's just this you have to read the fine print. You know what I mean? And certain words and things may be different, and, in my career in law enforcement, we always used to have to write reports a certain way for certain things because that's just the way it was,
Right.
So I feel terrible, man, because I think I heard through the grapevine that you were having issues, but I didn't know it was to that extent.
Yeah. And I like, these are lessons learned, right? And I'll be okay. Like I always have to learn these lessons and then figure out what I'm going to do. I mean, I need to negotiate direct off grid. Part of the problem though there too is you kind of have to have a bigger power requirement to do that in some certain circumstances, right? So I was in a position where I was trying to essentially find the cheapest power, get a commercial rate, and then expand, right? And then once I expanded, then I was going to be able to take that and have more leverage. I'm using this amount of power. I can now use that as leverage to move into something different, direct off grid or flare or wind power, subsidizing that. Now I just have to move faster, more different, but my plan doesn't really change from the perspective of how to treat a bear market, which is going to be literally selling everything I own and buying everything while it's cheap.
All right.
It's the way it goes. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, accumulation when nobody wants to accumulate is what I want to do and seems to have worked out last time. So hopefully that works out again.
Yeah, listen, everybody knows how I felt about the merge, and listen, you go by past behavior, right? And I was listening to people who are actually very educated on it, like yourself and Bits and Serpent, a lot of these guys that have been, in the game for a while. I personally didn't think that they would even get to this point. I'll be completely honest with you. But they're here. It's awesome. Listen, we all need Ethereum to succeed, right? Mm-hmm. We need them to succeed just for crypto in general. Would you say that?
Yes, right now it has to, because if it doesn't, DeFi collapses and everything is tied to DeFi. That's just the end of the story, end of story as far as that goes, which definitely makes me extremely nervous, because if we look at it objectively, what we're looking at is the most potential for censorship that's ever existed within cryptocurrency about to happen.
Right.
So the likelihood of success from a fundamentals perspective,
right,
is low.
What would you give it if you were to give it an odds?
The actual success of it functioning and working to that's pretty high, right? I think 90th percentile. Well, maybe not. Here's my only argument against that is technically we only had 64% participation in the last upgrade, the last merge testnet, which bodes pretty low confidence for the amount of people that are going to upgrade. Like, how much of the network is successful tonight? 64%. That's what I'll say, right? I think given enough time, everything's going to fall in place and be functioning properly.
Right. It's just like this love-hate relationship that I think we've all come to have with Ethereum now. And, listening to their devs, they just think, like, one guy was like, oh, it'll probably work. And then there was another guy that was just smiling too much and was making me nervous. I couldn't take anything they were saying seriously. And it just listen, I want Ethereum to succeed.
Well, the argument is always that the problem is the force through was always this narrative about power, right?
Right.
It was never a narrative about making the network better.
Right.
It used to be like early on, it was like, okay, well, we're going to do this because of scalability, fees, and so on. And then it was like, oh, we're just trying to reduce our carbon footprint at this point.
Right. I think that's a little bit of they're trying to push that narrative of we're saving the environment and all the thing. And it probably is a little bit more, efficient. But when you look at it,
it's more wasteful though.
Right. I agree. But we did these numbers on the, earlier, and and I'm just going to give perspective here for everybody. The entire planet uses 170,000 terawatt hours a year on average, right? Let's just give you that number. Okay. So the internet, just the internet alone is responsible for 10% and will be up to 25% by 2025.
Well,
Bitcoin
I think it's a little hard to say the internet because I think obviously that can encompass literally every single computer and cell phone device in existence, right? At the end of the day.
Right. It can.
I think you would want to tie it down to data center, right? That's usually what I go down to, especially because what we're moving into with proof of stake is data center. So I think the best comparable. But I hear you on the internet. I'll let you continue.
Well, no, I'm just saying. I just wanted to put it in perspective for because a lot of people ask, what's the big difference? We're building a data center right now. Our new company we're building, it's 12,000 square feet. It's got 4.8 megawatts availability coming in. We're doing it now, and I see what we're gonna have. The hosting on one side for GPUs only, and we're gonna run the validators on the other side, and Cloudflare and all that stuff. Cloudflare type, in that area there. And I'm looking at the power infrastructure and what this is going to use. And I'm thinking to myself, they're going to need more to run the consensus, right? You're going to kick all these miners off the network, going to lose a lot of this power, a lot of this hash rate, and you're going to need to still have more of that. So is it cleaner? I can't fall for it. Even with the internet thing, 10% of the energy consumed in the world goes to the internet at this moment, when only 170 terawatts, as opposed to, is just for Bitcoin mining. So it's just, in my opinion, it's a complete false narrative to say, oh, this is greener, because it's not. It's like the argument with electric vehicles, right? And I own an electric vehicle, but the argument is, oh, hey, it's more wasteful for it to produce, but it's cleaner over its lifespan. That's the argument right now. And can proof of stake can it be done right? Yeah, but listen, they could have cut their block reward down, right? If they really wanted to be environmentally friendly, they could have just cut their block reward down. Would you say that would even do the same thing as proof of stake as far as efficiency goes?
I don't think so. But I think no matter what, you still always have the problem of economies of scale, right? So right. Even if we get into proof of stake, more people are going to build more nodes, which means using more power. Right. The only difference that you add in at the end of the day, right, is that you up the barrier to entry to keep that number low. So you have the 32 ETH, which inevitably increases that barrier to entry. But we already see workarounds for that. So that ends up being a moot point. So we have
Right.
this barrier to entry that's supposed to stop people from building more nodes to keep the power requirements low. But now we got big companies like Coinbase and Lido enabling people to do a fraction of an ETH, which means that they just keep building up and up and up and up and up and up and up. Economies of scale. If the money is there to be made, the money will be there to be made, and they will increase the amount of power they use. So it doesn't really matter what consensus mechanism you use, more power will be utilized. That will always happen. The difference when you get into data center and nodes is that you end up always having a backup to the node. So what does that mean? You always have a piece of PC hardware, computer hardware running, doing nothing, sitting there running, waiting for a failover. Now you can't feasibly do that with cryptocurrency mining. All with your mining with an ASIC or a GPU or a CPU to get paid, that machine has to be doing work, right? However, to get paid in a data center, your failover server does not have to be doing work to get paid. It's just there. So it's wasteful, right? So now not only do you still have the economies of scale problem where eventually if the power is there to be utilized, it will be utilized to make money, but now you're wasting half of your power in high availability and failover.
Right. There was an argument made about like, how many systems at AWS are just sitting idle, not doing anything? You know what I mean?
A shit ton. Yeah.
Right. And they're running. Like, what's nobody says anything about the waste there. You know what I mean? Like, the argument can be made either way. I just think that, you know, a lot of people got their hands in Ethereum right now, and that's just what it is. So what are you going to do? Let's just hope it succeeds, because like you said, if it doesn't succeed, it's going to be bad for crypto in general. It's going to give politicians new things to talk about. It could even, I've said this on my channel tons of times, it's going to propel us towards regulation. It's what we don't want. You know what I mean? And I
just DeFi crashing means that a lot of the market crashes.
Right.
I mean, and that's the fact of the matter at this point. So much has been put into DeFi. We have a ton of Bitcoin wrapped into DeFi. We have a lot of things that are dependent on DeFi that's running off of Ethereum. Right. And how much wrapped Bitcoin gets pretty much yanked out of the system immediately, right? Oh, how much fear does that cause when that happens, right? And you can name it, right? The interoperability of Ethereum is the highest of any other crypto in existence, right? It's connected. It has bridges to Cardano. It has bridges. Bridges to Flux. It has bridges to everything, right? So yes, when I talk to miners, I say, you do not want this to fail. Let's be very clear, because if this fails, you can say goodbye to everything else for a little while.
Right. I agree with that. And I know a lot of people, like, they're going to disagree with us, and that's okay. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I just, we're looking at it from a business standpoint.
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
Yes, and
there will always be that person.
There's always going to be those people, right? And that's what goes back to the old saying, right? The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing, and that's just what it is. So a lot of people have to spread. There's a lot of FUD. There's a lot of BS all over YouTube and the internet, and just for clickbaity titles and stuff. And it just, as a community, we got to stop that. We got to give facts. We have to educate. I think we have an education problem. We have to educate people on what it really is. Too many people, oh this, oh that, and I don't know. Just my opinion on that, man. So
trying to get some chicken in. It's been a long day.
Eat. I'm with you. I'm actually starving. I haven't ate. I've been here all day, dude. We just inventoried 96 GPUs. Like, I'm just, oh man, it's been a day. But
so give us the wrap up. I got Fox protocol mining waiting.
Sure.
So where can people find you? Before you talk though, down in the description below there is a link to his YouTube channel. So go check that out. And then where else can people find you? Give us your name, all the deets.
Yep. Hawk Mining Co. I'm on Twitter, and just YouTube and Twitter for the most part. And I'm a part of the great Misfit mining community. It's where all my stuff is. So if you guys want to, talk to me, the Misfit mining community is great. Over 7,000 miners. You get all kinds of questions and stuff like that in, and people always down to help. So definitely check it out. If you guys are also interested in hosting, check it out. We're going to have a website up soon. We're down here in Florida, so we're not too far away, and we're glad to help anybody we can, especially the at-home GPU miners.
Thanks, man, for coming on. It was great having you. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Peace. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to go ahead and check out more videos here, or of course, subscribe. For additional content that also goes into more opinionated pieces surrounding the politics around crypto, make sure you check out sonofatech.locals.com. There you can become a member for free, or even choose to support for basically additional content at $5 a month. It's helping me stay alive through the crypto winter.